Hi, everyone. I hope you had a great holiday, a New Year's, and here's to 2022 being everyone's best year. I think we're all set up for that to happen, by the way. What I want to talk about today is something that probably is not talked about enough. I don't think I've talked about it enough. And so I want to address the healing environment. Okay, obviously, the first book, Supercharged Self Healing, is all about the exercises and protocols and a much deeper, holistic understanding of how healing works from a higher consciousness perspective. But what I don't think I even addressed in the book is talking about a healing environment. Now, for myself, as many of you probably know, one of the things that I did when I was in the hospital rehab for a couple of months was that I told everyone not to contact me. No emails, no text messages, no phone calls, no nothing really. And the negative, from my perspective, the negative nurses and orderlies and people that are involved in like a rehab facility, I actually called the charge nurse and said, please not have these individuals in my room anymore. Their energy was so negative that I didn't want them anywhere around me while I was working on my healing. And so this is part of what I want to talk about today, about a healing environment. Okay? So as most of you know, healing is the return to what is original to you. And what is original to all of us is perfection, divinity, harmony. We are unsullied and untouched. There's no such thing as ill health in our original state. Now, through incarnation, through identifications, is actually how we produce the egoic mind programming, and the subsets of that disharmonious programming is further tangible experiences of disharmony, which is what we call sickness, disease, illness, decrepitude. Death is actually part of that too, and I'm going to talk about that some other time, about how to work with that. Okay, so what is a proper healing environment? Is there such thing as a proper healing environment? There's absolutely such a thing as a proper healing environment. If we're in a situation, an environment, our apartment, our home, whatever that is, okay, and there is low frequency attachments, behavior, identifications going on between you and the environment itself and or the people within the environment, this is not an environment that is conducive to healing. Okay, any low frequency vibration that you are identifying with, which means you are actually attached to it. Energetically, I know we don't see this, but an identification is an attachment, which means our energy is actually attached. So if our identifications are attachments, anything within this realm is going to be low frequency because everything here is low frequency. So if we're attached to what the husband is doing, what the wife is doing, what the kids are doing, if there is an attachment there, you're going to make it more difficult for you to heal because that attachment will be low frequency. Healing is a high frequency experience, endeavor. It requires high frequency energy to heal and harmonize low frequency energy. Okay, so if we are attached to anything, that is a low frequency attachment. That is, from a metaphysical perspective, it will be toxicity that will not engender and allow high frequency or healing to take place. This is super, super, super important. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted no contact with anyone. I was lucky I couldn't go anywhere. Where was I going? I was paralyzed. I couldn't move, right? So, but I made sure that there was nothing around me. The people, like I said, certain orderlies and nurses and so on, I literally said they are not allowed in my room anymore. I literally instructed everyone, family and friends, do not contact me. I had almost absolutely no interaction with people at all other than the doctors, the nurses, and the physical therapists that I had to have interaction with. So I kept everything high frequency because I was not attached or identifying to anything. Absolutely nothing. The ego mind identity was not in place, so therefore I wasn't attached to anything. This created a high frequency environment. And literally, my hospital room, rehab hospital room, became such a high frequency environment through all the work that I was doing, and partly because I removed every low frequency person that was coming in, that nurses literally used to ask me if they could have lunch, just to sit quietly in my room and eat lunch, because it felt so good just to be in the room. Okay, so this is the understanding, the kind of mindset that we want to have. We want to create an environment that is so high frequency that the only thing that can occur is healing. The environment itself is engendering and helping the process itself of healing, of self-realization, which kind of go hand in hand, but they're not the same thing. Now, and it's the attachment to anything that prevents the healing. Let me say that again. The attachment to anything, to the husband, to the wife, to the kids, to the girlfriend, to the boyfriend, to the belief, to the concept, doesn't matter what it is, it's going to be low frequency. That is going to be a vibration that you're connected to that is low frequency, that is going to keep you from experiencing your own high frequency within your body of energy in your body, and therefore healing does not take place. This is super important. Okay. Now, if we're in a situation where we live, right, and let's say it is feasible to go and stay with someone or go and stay somewhere, I actually recommend that. You want to remove yourself from the familiarity of certain things, because that familiarity is what the ego mind identity is built upon. It's stuff, it's things, the things that are around it all the time, because you form attachments to these things, and these things are all low frequency, which prevents healing. So if it's possible, I recommend going to stay with maybe a relative, or going to stay with a close friend, or going to stay, even if you're close to someone, it doesn't matter whether it's a relative or a friend. If you're just close to them, there's a level of trust there. Removing yourself out of an environment, because most likely that environment is low frequency. And most likely the people that are in your environment, most likely are operating in a low frequency way. And most likely you have identifications and attachments to those people and those low frequency actions and behaviors and thought patterns. So we want to remove ourselves and put ourselves in an environment where we don't have any identifications and we don't have any attachments. And again, I had no choice with that. I was in a hospital rehab, but that environment was very low frequency. There was lots of suffering, pain, pity, drugs. Everything was low frequency. So I was able to isolate myself, meaning away from people that I'm familiar with, but I did have to work to maintain that high frequency environment. Okay. Now, if we can't remove ourselves, say from our house, our apartment, whatever, it's just not feasible. We can't afford it. There's no place for it to go. I understand. That's okay. So, but what we have to become diligent about is detachment. You have to begin to detach from whatever is going on in your environment. Remember, you're just the awareness of what is happening. You're the awareness of what the boyfriend is doing, the girlfriend is doing, the husband is doing, the wife is doing, the kids, the mother-in-law, the father-in-law, etc. Okay? There's nothing going on there except you're just aware of it. That's really the truth of the metaphysics. You're just aware of what's happening. You have to create these attachments. Now, for healing to take place, you have to detach. You have to bring that energy back to you. You cannot have your energy connected to anything low frequency. Healing doesn't happen. It just doesn't. It's not going to. So you want to detach. If you have to stay in this environment, you want to detach your energy, which means non-identification. And most of you at this point have probably heard me give that ridiculous analogy, but it's effective, about see everything as a boring movie. If you see everything as a boring movie, you don't care about what is going on. You don't care. You're not into the story. You're not into the characters. Who cares what in the world happens? This level of detachment is needed in order for us to work with ourselves properly, to create such a high frequency environment within our body of energy, and then therefore our physical body, by expanding our consciousness. And the only way to do those things is to not have your energy attached to anything. It's impossible. This is part of why healing is so difficult for people, because some of these metaphysics are obviously not taught. And this level of understanding is difficult to achieve in terms of being able to experience these things tangibly, whether through clairsentience, clairvoyance, or claircognizance, or all of the above. So the two main things: if you can remove yourself from a low-frequency environment and put yourself in a place where you can simply focus on yourself and you don't have your everyday, day-to-day attachments, worry, distractions, that will greatly promote your healing. If that's not possible, then we have to work on detachment. So if we're still in our same environment, we have to start seeing everything as a boring movie, and we just don't care what happens. Okay? You have to regain your energy. You have to detach from anything here, because anything you're attached to is low frequency, which will stop your healing. And once you're able to regain all your energy and you're completely detached, your frequency naturally rises because it's no longer attached to anything low frequency. So by default, it just starts to happen. Just by being present, you actually start to heal yourself. This is essential. These understandings are essential. There is such a thing as a healing environment. Absolutely. I did everything that I could to create a healing environment, the highest frequency healing environment that I possibly could. Do the same. And now that you have these metaphysical understandings about your energy, your attachments, and getting caught up because you're attached to whatever is going on with him, her, this, that, doesn't matter what it is, this must stop. Healing must become number one. Healing must become number one. And by doing this, you're setting yourself up for success. And that's what I want for all of you. I want success. I want victory. I want the transcendence of the human condition. And when we follow these protocols, you're no longer limited because you're no longer attached to anything. And now you can do what is in your nature, to be an immortal creator and bring yourself back to the state of peace, harmony, health, vitality, and vigor. So keep this in mind from now on, your healing environment. It must be set up properly. Do whatever is necessary to make sure that your environment is high frequency. Remove the things and the people that are low frequency. Remove yourself, if you can, from a low frequency environment. And if you can't remove, detach. Detach completely. The benefits will become tangible. You'll start to feel better right away. And now you've empowered yourself because you have all your energy back. Use these teachings, use these wisdoms to liberate yourself, to heal yourself. I'll see you all very soon.